Good evening, you're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. Israeli aggression continues on the Gaza Strip with several killed, and the US envoy to the Middle East discusses the path to a truce and a ceasefire in this strip. And 5 investment agreements worth 11 million Armeni riyals are signed in a Dakhiliya governorate. Welcome to our news center. Those were the headlines, and now for the news in detail. Internationally, 10 Palestinians were killed and dozens injured in the ongoing Israeli aggression on the Gaza Strip. Palestinian sources reported that the Israeli occupation army carried out several airstrikes this morning targeting camps for displaced people and those waiting for humanitarian aid, resulting in a number of deaths and injuries. Israel controls all access to the coastal enclave overlooking the Mediterranean Sea and has not allowed aid to reach the Strip for several months. In another development, cargo planes carried out airdrops today over Deir al-Balah in the central Gaza Strip. 7 cargo planes from countries including Jordan, Egypt, France and Germany were seen dropping aid over other areas in Gaza, including the southern city of Khan Yunis, the Nusayrat refugee camp in central Gaza and Gaza City. Today's airdrop came as US President Donald Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff discussed or visited southern Gaza amid international outrage over starvation. Witkoff is discussing a plan to deliver more food to the residents of the Gaza Strip who are facing widespread famine, according to the United Nations. Ukrainian rescue workers today uncovered the body of a 2-year-old as they finished work following a Russian attack the day prior that killed 31 people overall. Kiev observed a day of mourning after the deadliest attack in the Ukrainian capital this year ripped open a 9-story residential building, wounding 159 people and claiming the lives of 5 children. EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas today described the Russian attacks as depraved and posted a picture of the bloc's flag at half-mast. Separately, Zaporizhia region's military administration said on Telegram that 1 person was also killed in a Russian attack early today in southeast Ukraine. Another was killed in the northeastern Kharkiv region, officials said, while the toll from another strike yesterday, this time in Kramatorsk, further south, rose to 3. Germany said today that it will deliver 2 Patriot systems to Ukraine after reaching an agreement with the US that Berlin will be first in line to receive the latest systems in return. Defense Minister Boris Pistorius stated that thanks to the US commitment, Germany can initially support Ukraine with launchers and then with additional Patriot system components. Germany has already delivered 3 of its Patriot systems to Ukraine and said today that sending the additional system will not affect its contribution to the NATO defense alliance. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin said today that the first batch of mass-produced Orshenik ballistic missile systems had been delivered to the Russian army. The Russian Ministry of Emergency Situations announced that 120 aftershocks were recorded in the past 24 hours following the powerful earthquake that struck the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia's far east this Wednesday. Russian authorities reported that some of the tremors were felt by residents at magnitudes ranging from 2 to 5 on the Richter scale, while the strength of the recorded aftershocks ranged from 3 to 5 and from 6 to 7.0. The Kamchatka region had experienced an earthquake measuring 8.7 on the Richter scale last Wednesday, described as the strongest since 1952, prompting authorities to issue tsunami warnings along the Pacific coast. The American Space Exploration Technologies Corporation SpaceX launched 19 new Starlink satellites into space. The Falcon 9 rocket launched from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California, eastern United States, carrying the satellites into low Earth orbit approximately 63 minutes after liftoff. The first stage of the rocket successfully returned to Earth approximately 8 minutes later, landing on a SpaceX drone stationed in the Pacific Ocean. The Starlink project is the largest satellite constellation ever assembled, comprising of more than 8,000 satellites operating within a network covering most of the world, providing high-speed internet services from any location where a Starlink receiver can be pointed towards the sky, except for the polar regions. Still to come in our news bulletin. Chile takes new steps to save endangered Darwin's frog. Welcome back to the news center from the Sultanate of Oman television. Locally, during the Omani Journalist Forum held in the Wilaya of Al-Jabal Al-Akhdar, the Governorate of Al-Dakhiliya signed today 5 investment contracts for tourism and development projects in the wilayas of Al-Jabal Al-Akhdar and Bahla. Here is a report.
As part of its ongoing efforts to attract quality investment and boost economic development, the Governorate of Al-Dakhiliya signed 5 investment contracts with national companies for projects to be carried out in the wilayats of Al-Jabal Al-Akhdar and Bahla. The signing ceremony was held on the sidelines of the Omani Journalist Forum in the wilaya of Al-Jabal Al-Akhdar, which also aimed to enhance efficient communication between public institutions and the national media.
We signed 5 agreements with a total investment value exceeding 1.5 million Omani riyals, covering key sites in Al-Jabal Al-Akhdar and Bahla. These projects reflect our commitment to development projects that directly benefit the local community.
In the wilaya of Al-Jabal Al-Akhdar, the agreements include the establishment and operation of an integrated tourism and commercial complex in the Hail al-Yemen area, the development of a 3D open-air arena in Sih Qatana, and the enhancement of Sih Qatana Park. In the wilaya of Bahla, a contract was signed for the development and operation of Al-Budu' Park.
Al-Budu' Horizon Resort, or Layla's Resort as we call it now, it's a comprehensive project that contains residential, luxury, entertainment facilities, and also there will be some kind of walks, public walks, activities for adventures.
The project is a story that tells the true nature of the mountain and how we can link the nature itself with the traditional crafts we have and the natural and the nature sceneries we have all over the mountain itself.
The signed agreements aim to improve infrastructure, diversify services, generate employment opportunities for citizens, and promote local content. They also support innovation and competitiveness, key pillars of Oman Vision 2040. Through strategic projects and high-impact investments, Al-Dakhiliya Governorate is creating spaces that serve the community and support sustainable economic growth. Reporting from the wilaya of Al-Jabal Al-Akhdar, this is Salih Bakhalfan Al-Rahbi, Al-Dakhiliya Governorate.
Thank you, Saleh. More than 70 academic institutions from and outside the Sultanate of Oman are gathering for the third edition of the International Higher Education Exhibition, GEDEX. During the event, students seeking educational opportunities met with representatives of academic institutions to discuss about study programs, admission requirements, and even scholarships. These meetings enable them to make the right decisions to choose the appropriate educational institutions and specializations. Higher education exhibitions are effective tools to make the academic path obvious for students, one that aligns with their aspirations and ambitions for a successful professional future, while simultaneously keeping pace with the evolving demands of the labor market. The documentary exhibition Memory of a Nation in the Land of Frankincense was opened in the Wilaya of Salalah. It is meant to highlight the effective contributions of Omanis to human civilizations. The exhibition, organized by the National Records and Archives Authority, includes more than 4,000 printed and digital documents, some of which are being displayed for the very first time. The opening of the exhibition was presided over by His Excellency Dr. Ahmed bin Muhsin Al-Ghassani, Chairman of Dhofar Municipality. The number of active private institutions in the Sultanate of Oman reached more than 268,000, with an increase of about 10% during the first quarter of this year compared to the previous one. Here's a report. The number of active private institutions in the Sultanate of Oman saw an increase of about 10% during the first quarter of this year compared to the previous one, exceeding 268,000 institutions. Data from the National Centre for Statistics and Information indicated that the number of micro-institutions recorded the highest growth rate, with more than 11%, reaching 235,510 institutions. Conversely, the number of small institutions declined by 3%, totaling 29,932 institutions. Medium-sized institutions also saw a decrease by about 2%, bringing the number down to 1,862 institutions, whereas the number of large institutions experienced an increase of more than 2%, reaching 729. On the other hand, the value added by active private institutions grew by more than 5%, exceeding 8.4 billion Omani Rials. Large institutions contributed nearly 60% of the gross domestic product. The value added by micro-institutions grew by about 5%, while small institutions experienced a growth of 5.5%, and medium institutions grew by more than 3%. While the number of employees in active private institutions exceeded 1.806 million employees during the first quarter of this year. Chile has launched a new effort to save the endangered Darwin's frog, a tiny amphibian with leaf-like skin whose males carry tadpoles within pouches in their mouths. Here's a report.
They're tiny, leaf-like, and full of surprises. And no, they're not in a fairy tale. They're Darwin's frogs, and Chile wants to save them. Discovered by Charles Darwin in 1834 on Chiloé Island, these tiny 3-centimeter frogs have a rare superpower. The males carry their babies in their mouths until they're ready to hop away. But their forest homes in southern Chile and Argentina are under threat from fires, fungus, invasive species, and climate change. Now, Chile's Climate Change and Sustainability Committee is teaming up with landowners to protect habitats, reconnect forests, and hopefully discover new frog populations. Today, just 62 known populations remain. Conservationists like Andres Valenzuela from NGO Ranita de Darwin hope the initiative sparks nationwide interest in protecting one of Chile's most unique species. Because saving the Darwin's frog isn't just about science, it's about giving one tiny voice a fighting chance.
This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's news bulletin, here are the main points once again. Israeli aggression continues on the Gaza Strip with several killed, and the U.S. envoy to the Middle East discusses the path to a truce and a ceasefire in this strip. And 5 investment agreements worth 11 million Omani riyals assigned in a Dakhiliya governorate. With that, we do come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it is good night and stay safe.